down, please. Thank you. Vision time ready? Arby's, we don't have the meat. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I've been sitting, eating, sleeping, and breathing in my own fecal matter for the last 72 weeks. And at this moment, I'm being stuffed into a trailer with 19 others on my way to get what I've had coming since day one. Like, what do you think I am? A piece of meat? Said every steak you've stuck on a grill and conveniently cooked and ate. Hello, my name is Tatum Sager, and today I'm going to convince you why supporting or contributing to the livestock industry is destroying the earth. A t-test was conducted by an online questionnaire that collected a sample of 361 randomly selected students on their knowledge and behavior towards the livestock industry. The test found that, yup, no one knows shit about where any of their food comes from or what your Big Mac does to the environment. According to FAO, it was recently estimated that nearly 7.1 gigatons of greenhouse gases were emitted into the atmosphere annually. 14.5% of these gases are due to the livestock industry. If you reflect on all of the components of climate change, you will realize that 14.5% is significant. 65% of total livestock is solely from cattle. The remaining 35% stems from pork and poultry. With regards to food production and processing land, these two components of climate change, livestock compose around 45% of total emissions. Manure and storage processing represent 10%, and the remaining attributes to the transportation of animal products. This would have the livestock industry sitting second in line as largest polluting industry in the world. Livestock and agriculture consume 1/3 of Earth's land and are the leading cause of deforestation. In a 10-year span, the amount of land cleared for livestock cultivation is equivalent to the landmass of Portugal, doubled, and around 6.7 million acres of tropical rainforests are bulldozed or burned for cattle production each year. Rainforests are home to more than 50% of our plant and animal species. Without these rainforests, we don't have the opportunities to grow wheat, chocolate, coffee. We are sacrificing the health of our environment and fertile soils for livestock cultivation rather than plant production. Plant production has more versatile uses and is more environmentally friendly when produced for humans directly. But we still choose to consume more heavily within the livestock industry. Not only does this do the environment a huge disservice, but it also has a negative impact on our bodies. Now, it might surprise you what mass-produced meat might do to your body because, yep, no one knows shit about where any of their food comes from or what your Big Mac does to the environment. Ever heard of microplastics? Well, little did you know, the average American consumes one credit card worth of microplastics weekly. Yum. Microplastics, GMOs, and nitrate preservatives are all artificial components of mass-produced meats. Specifically, microplastics are present in more meat due to current plastic pollution. Microplastics increase cancer risk, potential metabolic disturbance, and neurological toxicity. The only way to avoid these harmful chemicals is a plant-based diet. Now, a plant-based diet would not only be more ideal for your body, but also significantly more beneficial to the environment. Meat is harmful to the environment through agriculture because when meat is being raised for slaughter, livestock is being fed mass amounts of grain, corn, and other cheap starches grown in large crop quantities. The irrigation systems for these crops consume so much water for the trillions of animals that are fed and produced per year. Human consumers demand less than half of what livestock consumes annually. Therefore, if we didn't have animals to feed and then slaughter for ourselves, we would have the opportunity to rely on plant irrigation rather than livestock, the larger consumers. Cutting out meat from our diet would reduce the amount of energy required to produce food. Beef cultivation not only requires large amounts of food production, but the process in which crop is cultivated for meat requires mass amounts of water. In many places, water must be diverted from natural water systems to energize certain areas of agricultural land. Take Southern California, for example, one of the nation's leading crop producers. This region is currently dealing with a massive drought, and consequently, crop farmers are limited to the amount of water they're legally allowed to divert from natural watersheds. This limits crop production, and without satisfying the cattle farmers' water supply, cattle production will have to decrease. So, it would make sense to convert to a plant-based diet now to better the environment, ecosystem, and earth while we still have the choice to do so. Operating the transport of water takes energy. The act of taking water from natural water systems that feed certain areas of agricultural land imposes human infliction on natural habitats. This human infliction results in the possible failures of ecosystem and the possibility of water going into unnatural drought, similar to Southern California. The process of a plant-based diet would reduce human consumerism, carbon footprint, water usage, and therefore rejuvenate the well-being of our environment. So, now that you know some of the impacts of the livestock industry in present day, think ahead 25 years or so, when there is an estimated 2.6 billion more people on our planet. By 2050, it is estimated that the Earth will be home to 9.6 billion people. And if we don't take any preliminary action, our world will be in an even deeper state of crisis. The livestock industry cannot truly support today's population safely. There's not enough land and resources to support another population of livestock. At this rate of population increase, the land will be stripped quickly from the 70% of wildlife that takes up the natural land in the world. These animals will have no time to adapt or change and also have nowhere to go, eat, or drink, and ultimately go extinct. Once natural biodiversity decreases, humans will be at risk of diseases that would usually occur in natural wildlife. So, as long as the human race keeps taking advantage of what the earth has naturally provided and keeps pushing to consume more unnatural processes, we will have an extremely detrimental effect on the ecosystem, environment, but specifically the roots and components of the livestock industry have the potential to cause mass starvation. 8.9% of the world is starving right now. How many more people will be starving once we use all of our resources up on livestock? Is it possible to feed some of those 8.9% by reducing meat consumption? Well, if we use the land and area cultivated for meat and beef to focus more on plant and agriculture production, we could decrease the starvation rate. A percentage of starving people could be fed due to the productivity and price of plant production. The only two energy sources that plants require are sun and water. Meat and beef take more energy due to their unnatural process. Plants are always naturally reproducing, even when irrigated. Sunflowers, corn, wheat, they all regenerate themselves, but livestock is mass bred. This means cattle farmers are constantly forcing animals to reproduce, which makes the process completely inhumane and unnatural. There's a large difference between what cattle consume and what crops consume. As crops consume less energy from the earth, evidently, they're better for the environment, human diets, and the human race with regards to how the livestock industry will impact us throughout the next 25 to 50 years. So, why do humans still consider eating meat a moral practice? With knowing how it affects the environment, water supply, and the human race, we still eat meat. The solution is veganism, or a plant-based diet. Now, this may sound impossible because you love bacon and cheese and your Big Mac, but what's more important to you? The possibility of an animal's long and enjoyable life, or a couple minutes of satisfied taste buds? Veganism stalls the process of a number of things: deforestation, animal cruelty, air pollution, climate change, water usage, starvation, and various species' carbon footprints. Now, some of you might still be thinking that eating meat is just human nature, or good old natural selection, but as Ed Winters, international animal rights activist, puts in his TED Talk, there are dogs that are bred to fight, but that doesn't make dog fighting acceptable and moral. Just like there are cows bred to eat, but that doesn't make it okay to hang a cow upside down, slit its throat, and let it bleed to death just because that's what it's born to do. Another example would be the instance of a lion hunting a gazelle for food, to energize its body and avoid starvation, and we humans eat meat to the same effect. However, a plant-based diet can energize your body to the same degree and better. And honey, picking up a cut of steak from Safeway is much different than hunting because your life depends on it. At this point, we don't need it, we want it. So again, what's more important? Moments of taste or possible years of life? Thank you.